What if I told you that this dark god, the most powerful, fearsome, terrible, and insanity-inducing of all H.P. Lovecraft's creations, actually exists? Born in 1890, H.P. Lovecraft was an American writer and the father of cosmic horror that centers around terrifying cosmic deities known as the Great Old Ones and the even more powerful Outer Gods.
It is man's relation to the cosmos which alone arouses in me the spark of creative imagination.
Now, you're probably familiar with his most famous cosmic entity, Cthulhu. Cthulhu has appeared in everything from books, movies, video games, and TV shows, but Cthulhu is just one of Lovecraft's creations, and not even close to being one of the most powerful or horrific. There's a lot more, like Dagon and Hastur the Unspeakable, the King in Yellow. But according to the Lovecraft mythos, all these entities, Cthulhu, Dagon, the King in Yellow, they're known as the Great Old Ones, and are nothing compared to the Outer Gods. If the Great Old Ones are like demons or angels, then the Outer Gods are like God and the devil. But there's one outer god that's above all the rest, the father of all outer gods, and it's responsible for your existence. This dark god, this secret god, is the origin of the universe and will be its end. But the truth is, the most powerful and terrifying of all of Lovecraft's creations isn't a creation at all, because it actually exists. But first, make sure you hit subscribe. Information like this you're not going to find anywhere else, and it takes less than a second, just one tap for you, but it helps out a lot. So hit like and subscribe now. Now, I know what you're thinking. How the hell is it possible that some monster that H.P. Lovecraft thought up actually exists? That's crazy. But not so fast, because what if I told you that evidence for its existence exists in ancient secret books banned by the church, as well as in philosophy, secret societies, and modern science? Not only that, but some of the most intelligent people in history believed that it exists. I'm going to explain all of this, but first, let's discover what this terrifying god is. The name of this god is Azathoth, and in the Lovecraftian mythos, it's the ruler of all outer gods, and everything is born from it. But there's something very strange about this god. It's known as the blind idiot god and god of nuclear chaos. These two names are important, so let's take a closer look. Azathoth is the most powerful entity in existence and is a dreamer whose dreams are so real that they become reality. In fact, the so-called real world, the physical universe, is the dream of Azathoth. All people, all worlds, all creatures, all of existence is Azathoth's dream. And if Azathoth is real, and I'm going to show you that it is, then that means that everything around you and even you yourself are the dream of Azathoth.
I have often wondered if the majority of mankind ever paused to reflect upon the occasionally titanic significance of dreams, and whose vaguely disquieting effect suggests possible minute glimpses into a sphere of mental existence no less important than that of physical life.
According to Lovecraft, Azathoth is beyond matter and time and outside of thought and existence. It's the dreaming god whose dream is the universe. So why is he called the blind idiot god? Because Azathoth is completely unaware that it's dreaming. Even though it created existence through its dream, it's completely unaware that it did. It's sleeping, mindless, and unconscious. Now, if you think about this, this makes sense, because when you go to sleep and dream, you generate an entire dream world from your thought, but you have no idea that you did, or that you're even dreaming. Azathoth is totally omnipotent and created existence, but it's blind to the fact that it did. Totally oblivious to the worlds and beings within its dream. This is why it's called the blind idiot god. Azathoth can never be destroyed because it exists beyond the concepts of destruction, mortals, strength, and speed, because those are merely its dream. Azathoth is also known as the god of nuclear chaos, but this doesn't refer to nuclear energy. It refers to Azathoth's position as the nucleus of the universe, the very core of existence. Azathoth is the center, the origin of the universe, and outside of it. Just like when you dream, you are the dream's creator, but you're also inside the dream and outside of it as the sleeping dreamer. If Azathoth were to ever wake up, existence would vanish in an instant because it's all its dream. Good thing it's all a story, right? Well, it's no story because Azathoth exists. Let me explain. Now, it's important to understand that all these depictions of Azathoth as a monster, they're wrong. Lovecraft says that no one knows what Azathoth looks like, so these images, they're just from various artists' imaginations. Azathoth's true form can't be depicted because embodied form is just a concept within its dream. But we now come to the big question: how can Azathoth actually exist if it's something that H.P. Lovecraft made up? After all, Lovecraft certainly didn't believe that Azathoth existed. H.P. Lovecraft was raised as a Christian and eventually became an atheist, so he didn't believe in any gods, let alone Azathoth. But this next piece of information is important, so think about this carefully. Right now, you're probably not convinced that Azathoth exists because I haven't shown you the evidence yet. But imagine, just for a moment, pretend that Azathoth does exist. If Azathoth actually exists and everything is its dream, that means that everything is made from the mind of Azathoth, and that everything is Azathoth, just like everything in your dream is ultimately you. If that's true, that means that we are part of Azathoth, and buried deep within the dark depths of our unconscious, some hidden part of us knows that it exists because it's imprinted on all of existence because it is existence. Even though H.P. Lovecraft was an atheist and thought he was just writing fiction, he was actually drawing inspiration from the truth buried deep inside him. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung said that stories are projections of the unconscious mind. Lovecraft thought he was just writing a story, but that story came from the truth deep in his mind, a truth that every single one of us has inside of us right now. Now, obviously, the details that Lovecraft wrote, they're not exact. He was writing fiction, after all. So obviously, this god wouldn't actually be named Azathoth, for example. But the overarching idea of what it is, that's what's true. But wait a minute, because if that's true, and it's deep within all of us, wouldn't we be able to find stories and evidence for this god throughout history? That's right. And oh, there is. There's actually so much evidence for it that there's no way I could fit even a fraction of it in this video. Evidence for this god, who appears under many different names, is found throughout history, hidden religions, secret societies, philosophy, and science. So I'm going to show it to you now, but keep in mind, I'm going to have to go through it very fast because I could do an entire video on each detail that I mention here. Are you ready? Because it's about to get weird. The Gnostics were an ancient sect of Christians condemned as heretics by the church, and they claimed to know the secret truth of existence and how to escape the material world. They were so hated by the church that in the 4th century, these heretics were exiled and their books were burned, and possession of any books considered heretical was a criminal offense. It wasn't until the mid-1900s that the majority of their texts were finally discovered when they were dug up in a desert graveyard near the tombs of Egypt. So what was the secret truth of the Gnostics? They believed that the ultimate reality, the true reality, was not physical, but that it was a divine mind that they called the One, or the Great Invisible Spirit, and that all existence was formed by the thoughts emanating from this one mind. The one mind, had a dark thought, an evil, malformed thought, and this transformed into a dark being called Yaldabaoth or Samael. This evil being then created a dream world and trapped humans within his dream world as a prison. And what does its name, Samael, mean? The blind god. Sound familiar? Why were the Gnostics so hated by the church? Because they believed that the Christian God was the blind God that trapped humanity within its dream world. The Gnostics believed that they knew how to escape the dream, and at the end of this video, I'll explain exactly how to escape. But first, there's a lot more to this. The philosopher Bishop Berkeley put forward his philosophy that he called immaterialism, in which he argues that everything in existence are simply ideas in the mind of an all-powerful God, simply thoughts in this entity's dream, a God, an entity that he calls omnipresent eternal mind, who controls everything. The philosopher and discoverer of calculus, Leibniz, believed that reality was not actually physical, but a realm of mind, and everything is controlled and created like thoughts through the mind of God. The philosopher Hegel believed that existence was nothing but an eternal mind he called the Absolute, that has no knowledge of what it is or any kind of self-awareness, but unconsciously generates the dream world of the universe, including all of us, to begin to understand itself through its own dream. A form of Hinduism known as Advaita Vedanta says that the god Brahman is the only true fundamental reality, and Brahman is pure consciousness and all else is an illusion or Maya. Everything depends on the pure consciousness, the pure mind of Brahman for its existence. Almost all of these systems and thinkers throughout history believed that reality was not physical, that it was mental, and somehow controlled or originated from the thoughts of a divine, eternal being. Additionally, they believed that there was a way to wake up or escape, and the way to do it is almost identical for all of them, and I'm going to show you exactly how. But first, you might be thinking that all of this is just some kind of religious fantasy or out-of-date philosophy. But modern science points to the same conclusion. In the 1900s, the discovery of quantum mechanics destroyed the idea that reality is material. Quantum mechanics is one of science's most successful theories ever, and the founder of quantum mechanics, Max Planck, said, "As a man who has devoted his whole life to the most clear-headed science, to the study of matter, I can tell you as a result of my research about atoms this much. There is no matter as such. All matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particles of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together. We must assume behind this force the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. This mind is the matrix of all matter." Schrödinger, famous for the Schrödinger equation and Schrödinger's cat thought experiment, believed that mind was the fundamental reality. And Heisenberg said that the ultimate reality was ideas or forms. In fact, there is a crisis in science because reality can no longer be explained in terms of matter. Neurosurgeon Michael Egnor has completely abandoned materialism because he states that there is no possible way that the brain can account for consciousness, and he believes that ultimate reality is more like a mind than anything physical. There is so much more, but we have to move on because it's about to get insane. The idea that we all exist within the dream of an unconscious mind has permeated throughout history. It's found everywhere throughout hidden knowledge, religion, philosophy, to science. And it doesn't matter whether it's called the Great Invisible Spirit, the One, Brahman, the Absolute, or Azathoth. It's all describing the same thing. Now, this might seem terrifying and horrible. It was the unconscious inspiration for H.P. Lovecraft's Darkest God, after all. But there's something crucial that you must know, because there's a way to transcend all of this. And many of the philosophies and religions that I've mentioned all describe more or less the same way to liberation. Here's how to escape. Think about this carefully. Lovecraft describes Azathoth as being completely unconscious and blind to the fact that it exists and that it's dreaming. But if everything is the dream of Azathoth, that means that everything is made of Azathoth. That means that you and I and everyone are a part of Azathoth, and that we are literally its consciousness. It doesn't know that it's dreaming because we are it. Think about it. There is nothing that is not Azathoth because everything is its dream. That includes your consciousness right now. Azathoth doesn't realize that it's dreaming because you are Azathoth, and you don't realize that you are dreaming right now. Let me explain. As I mentioned earlier, the philosopher Hegel calls this being the Absolute. The Absolute is completely unconscious to what it is, and it generates a dream world without realizing it did so, just like you don't realize you generate a dream when you go to sleep at night. In this dream world that we perceive as the physical world, generated by the Absolute, it unknowingly inserts itself into its dream through human beings. When humans study the world and each other through religion, philosophy, and science, this is the Absolute studying itself through itself without knowing what it's doing until it finally realizes that it is everything and that it is the dreamer. And it realizes that when you realize that, because it is you. See, Lovecraft describes this as horrifying, but it isn't actually. It's only horrifying when humans don't realize what they are. That's when they are the blind idiot god, and they destroy each other because they don't know what they are. But we can open our eyes and finally see. Right now, it's like we're living in a Lovecraftian horror story, but we can change all of that. This story can have a beautiful ending. Once we and all of humanity realizes what we are, we become lucid in this dream and realize that we're all in this together and that we are the god of this dream. Instead of going to war, killing, and hating each other, we can begin to transform this nightmare into a brilliant dream when we realize that we are the dreamer and we can create whatever we want. We can transform this world, dream other dreams, and enter domains of pure mind beyond space and time. There is nothing outside the absolute. The absolute doesn't have some kind of physical body in a higher reality. Reality is the absolute, which is an immaterial, eternal mind and nothing more. And that is what we are. We are eternal, and we've unconsciously generated a dream world, which humanity thinks is physical reality, to explore ourselves and to ultimately come to consciousness of what we are. That's happening right now as you watch this video. This is a new level of consciousness beyond self-awareness that humanity must evolve to. This is hyper-awareness. Are you ready to become lucid and realize what you are, what we are, and help us shape this dream? It's time to wake up. Make sure you like and subscribe, even something as simple as hitting like. It spreads this information and helps wake up the world. Now, there's so much more information that I couldn't fit in this video, so check out my other videos, like this one that shows that the Matrix movies are based on the same thing. Now, if you have ever gotten something or learned something from my videos, consider supporting on Patreon. When you help me out, I can help you out, and we can help the world out. You'll also get access to our weekly secret live streams, hidden Discord server, the Citadel, and a lot more. My name is Morgue, and I am Hyperion. Hail New Terra.